Implementing Neo in Westcon, we've saved over $100,000 in terms of optimising labour allocation and ensuring our jobs are completed in a more productive manner. So it's really changed the way in which we plan, deliver and ultimately record the success of our projects. My name is Brent Hogan, I'm the General Manager of Westcon, and we're a retaining wall contractor, largely building retaining walls on greenfield subdivisions for civil contractors. Before we started using Neo, one of the biggest challenges we had was actually documenting our works on a job and being able to substantiate both our progress in terms of substantiating payment claims, but also if a dispute arose about what had or hadn't happened on a site, actually getting the evidence together to build our case and to demonstrate what we had actually done. Site records pre-Neo were very much manual based. So the site supervisors had a site diary which they would fill in for a job, and essentially I would get given a copy of the handwritten site diary report, which from my perspective was next to useless, because there was no way of categorising that information, putting it into a database and being able to extract it quickly and easily. Using site diaries on Neo means that we can readily review and see what is happening day to day on a job site. There are issues in terms of progress not being where we would think it would be. We can get onto that quickly and understand what the issue is. But it's also a place where our site supervisors can record abnormal happenings on a job site that they think they need to record to make sure that we've got a record of it down the track. It also allows us to track deliveries of materials that can later be checked back to invoices coming into the business, and to document any communications that they've had with the client on site. So implementing Neo has really allowed us to grow geographically. When we started, we were very much a Sydney-based business. Over the last few years, we've expanded into the Central Coast and Hunter. So we're now a leading contractor on the Central Coast and in the Hunter Valley, delivering retaining walls on subdivisions in those regions. For Neo, everything was manual in terms of ITPs, site dockets, safety forms. Anything like that was all manually completed. So you were relying on it not only being completed in something that you couldn't check remotely, but you were also relying on it still being in one piece by the end of the job, that it was in some type of format that could be presented to a client at the end of the job. So we used customised forms in Neo largely around ITPs and tracking both the quality of the work that we're doing, but also that we're meeting specific hold points, which can vary from job to job in terms of what the structural engineers want to review before we move on. So using customised forms allows us to change our ITP to match the job-specific requirements, and then present to our client at the end of the job a completed form that has all the information they need. Since we've had Neo, we haven't actually had any payment claim disputes where we have not been able to substantiate that our progress claim actually matched what we had delivered on site. The key benefit of Neo from a payroll perspective for us is about making sure that we're capturing hours worked, that we're capturing the overtime worked, and that we're then paying employees correctly. And if we were questioned in 12 months' time about what we did on the 12th of February in 2024, we can bring that up and we know exactly what we've got recorded in terms of timesheets. We've got the geo-stamps in terms of locations signing in and out, that we can respond to any of those issues that may come up down the track, instead of needing to rely on a manual record where we need to go and find that, or from working from worst case scenario memory as to what actually happened at a particular point in time. Prior to Neo, from a pay cycle perspective, I was relying on site supervisors to essentially tell me when staff worked additional hours. So any overtime, I would get a text message, normally on a Thursday night. These were the hours, these were the additional hours for the week. I'd collate that, keep that in a spreadsheet, and use that to process payroll. It was really managed through a Google worksheet. We had an operations manager at the time. One of the main activities they would be doing on an afternoon would be updating the Google spreadsheet, making sure we had all the holes covered, and then communicating to our staff where they needed to be the next day, normally by text message. Since moving to a Neo-based system, we're much more proactive in our scheduling. We will schedule out a couple of weeks in advance, notify the staff in advance to know where they need to be and when, and then they can obviously plan their own life around where they'll be from a work perspective. So scheduling for us with Neo now is about, first of all, looking at our job calendar, putting integrating that into the system and being able to communicate more clearly with clients about our availability, when jobs will finish and when we can start the next project. But it also allows us now to allocate staff to those projects for the life of that project and just update that weekly in our regular management meetings where we're tracking where we're at and what changes need to be made to the schedule. Look, I would happily recommend Neo to any subcontractor who is running a small to medium-sized business, who needs a solution to deal with rostering, to deal with job planning, to deal with capturing site diaries, forms, improving their payroll processes, the basics of running a subcontractor business. I think Neo provides a platform to do that, and it's very evident once you become a Neo user that it's actually been built for subcontractors. It's not a product which is trying to be something to everybody. It is for subcontractors, and it does exactly what we are looking for a software solution to do.